This will be the last time you get to hear me say welcome to CWFleet Days. This went fast today. Hello. Well, it looks like everyone is in. So again, I want to welcome everyone to CWFleet Demo Days. Appreciate you joining us. And if you have been with us all day, you are troopers. Really appreciate that. It's been a great day filled with wonderful information, connecting with our vendor partners, seeing new equipment, new technology, new model year as well. So that's kind of exciting, seeing what everyone's been doing. Even though we can't do it face to face, it's been really nice to engage virtually. We do appreciate all of our vendors that have been with us throughout the day. And now we have our final presentation with Ford, and we're really looking forward to a dynamic presentation with the team there. We know how important it is to stay connected, and that's why the California Peace Officers Association brought Demo Days together. And we look forward to being together face to face in 2021 in Ontario again. So again, thanks for being here. My name is Cindy Williams. I am the Vendor Relationship Manager for the California Peace Officers Association. And I just thank you for your time. You will not be muted during this presentation, so we really appreciate that you pay attention to that. And make sure you mute yourself should you have some background noises. We do want to encourage dialogue, but you can do that in the chat box. And while you're thinking about that, please let us know the agency you're representing and the position in the agency so that we can share that out with our presenters. And let's see what else. Anything else that I need to remind anybody of? Anything else? No. So I think we should get started with the team at Ford. They've got a lot to share and a lot of updates to bring to you. So with that, Steve Ho, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for CWFleet Demo Days.
Good afternoon. Cindy, thanks so much for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Really appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon as we cover the vehicle news, the latest vehicle news from Ford Motor Company about our police products. I'm the government sales manager for the Western States, Steve Ho, and I'll be followed by Chris McCall, who's our modified vehicle service manager, Randy Freeberger, our modified vehicle engineering manager, and then Steve Tyler will wrap it up with an overview of all our police vehicles and updates. And he's our Ford Police Marketing Manager. So with that, I'll move on to just a couple sales slides. I just want to provide an update. And what I'm going to do is start off just comparing the 20 versus the 2019 calendar year sales information, just to give you an idea. And we're going to start looking at the entire auto industry. So just a couple brief slides here, just to kind of put context to what's happening with the police car business. In 2020, of course, we've got a global pandemic taking place, and our total sales for the industry, now this is all manufacturers and fleet and retail business, is down about 800,000 units at 16.4 million. So normally about 17 million is a really good year. And last year, as you see on the right, the industry finished off the year at 17.2 million units. And that's a...
Steve, we can't see your screen right now. So let's get back.
I think Carol, the screen off?
You should be able to go back to share screen.
I think Carol took the screen, sorry.
There we go.
So you seeing this now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thanks for the insight. I want to make sure we catch that before I finish up here. So I'll just go back real quick. So here's the people we have following me today: Chris McCall, Randy Freiberger, and Steve Tyler. And what I was covering right here is the 2020 versus 2019 industry sales. So as I was pointing out, the volume is down just a little bit, and that's pretty much from the earlier part of the year. Most of the manufacturers were down a couple of months this year. So when the plants are shut down, we lose unit volume, but the business is picking up the last couple of months, and we look like we're going to finish off the year pretty strong as an industry. So a healthy industry provides the financial assets to invest in these products that we're going to talk about the rest of the presentation. And so now drilling down to the law enforcement segment. So 2020, we're on track with 62,000 plus unit volume in the police, and this is entire U.S. law enforcement. That's down a little bit from last year, but again, we just talked about the fact that the police industry is inclusive in the auto industry, which means the plants were shut down for a couple months, and that reduced the volume that was available for purchase. And I'll back up just one step here. And of course, we all know that the sensitivity with municipalities and their budgets right now, with changes in the budget lookout for tax revenues and things like that. So you're all aware of that, but there's some constraints with municipalities and what their budget allocations are going to be. So a little conservative on the buy side in some areas as well. On the Ford side, police business is done very, very good this year. We've got 29,421 units sold for the calendar year to date. And that's over 2019 numbers at 23,878. Primarily due to the increase in production for our police units. Many of you have had orders in the system and had waited several months, and we do appreciate your patience. That's been a very taxing situation for many departments, as well as Ford, trying to get the plan up to speed. So we're kind of refreshing everyone on that. We shut the plant down for several months while they went through a complete revamp to update the plant with the latest technology. So make sure we could deliver the utmost quality with the vehicles. And the delivery process on that update took a little longer than expected. So we're a little trailing in production for the early part of the 2020 model year. We made that up this year. And now we can see we're up nearly 11,000 units year over year. And that's based on the commitment from the plant to get additional allocation for the law enforcement vehicles. And we produced well over the normal amount for the last 4 or 5 months to get right sized and get our order to delivery dates up to where they should be. And this kind of takes us through those numbers. So, we had 20,000 units that we carried over after the plant shut down. That's a huge amount of product. And when we kicked off this year, we started off at about 1,200 units per week, and then we ramped it up to over 1,300 over the last several months through the summer. And now we've got almost 31,000 units that have been delivered to the dealers. That's a huge amount of product coming through the pipeline to get out to you and your fleets. And then about 4,500 of those we estimate are still in the process of being upfitted at the dealers or the upfit agencies prior to delivery. So that said, we've got about 5,200 units that are orders in the system that'll be produced by the end of the year, or my bad, that should say December. So we've got about 5,200 units that are due to be produced throughout the rest of the year. And then next year we'll start fresh. So our order to delivery times have improved drastically. We're back to a right size number of about 13, 14 weeks. New orders that you put in this month will likely get built in January. So very, very quick turnaround. And then of course there's delivery time with rail transit and all that. So we'll have room for Q&A at the end. So if you've got any questions about that, feel free to ask, and I'm going to turn it over to Chris McCall at this point. All right, so I stopped sharing. And...
Perfect, Steve, thanks. And Chris, we've got you on mute. There we go.
Very much, Steve, and thank you to CWFleet for hosting us. I'm going to switch this over to presentation mode. And do I have the correct screen up, or are we seeing just the PowerPoint?
We're just seeing the PowerPoint still.
Great. All right, I got it in the right setting then. So let me roll this back. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're seeing the entire slide deck.
Great. Okay, so it's in the correct screen, right?
No,
Oh,
No.
all right.
click on your view.
How's that?
There
There,
you go. Thank you.
Okay, great. Little technical difficulties. Welcome to the new normal. So, Steve, like Steve said, Chris McCall, Fleet Modified Vehicle Manager with Ford Fleet Service Operations. And I'm going to jump into a few service-related issues. I'm going to kick this off with a discussion on some of the legacy product, right? So our 19 and older police interceptor utility, because so many of our customers, our customers, have these vehicles still in service. One that we get a lot of traffic on is some hood corrosion issues. And I wanted to just cover this and say that, yeah, we have revised and given our dealers better guidance on how to handle this one. So we have a technical service bulletin that was published last year that addresses corrosion on aluminum body panels. It recommends panel replacement, and there's no requirement for perforation on aluminum body panels to receive this repair under warranty. Now, it doesn't cover corrosion by paint damage due to impact or environmental fallout, right? It is good for 336 on the 15 model year and prior, and then we switched the coverage to 5 unlimited at the 16 model year. Again, this impacts our legacy police interceptor utility. Another one on our legacy police interceptor utility is water pump durability. The water pump wasn't an expensive piece, but the labor was the challenge because it was a transverse engine, right? So the voice of the customer showed us that we had some external coolant leaks from the front of the engine, and the water pump required replacement. The root cause was the seal failure due to higher than design temperatures. So we took action based on that warranty information and redesigned that seal to allow 10% higher oil temp. And that was implemented mid-production March of 16. Service parts were also updated. And the good news is the 2020 model year PIU has a completely different design pump on the new engines. It's a north-south engine. If you lift the hood, the water pump is right there, generally speaking, right there in front of you. Plus, we rolled all of the lessons learned into that pump design, so we don't continue to challenge our customers with this. And now, talking about the 2020 model year, one of the, again, voice of the customer that was raised to us was losing hubcaps in service. So description of the issue was a loss in retention due to supplier manufacturability. I know that's a bit of a mouthful. A nominal shift and a tolerance decrease implemented in production 8/1 of 2020. That's a fancy way of saying we have better hubcap retention. Retention force has been increased by 91%. So we did cut this off in production and we updated our service parts. So if you have lost hubcaps, our dealers can service them. This isn't actually, I wouldn't take this service part number down. That's actually what we call an engineering part number. Our dealer can cross that to a service part number though for you if you do have to take it in and have a hubcap, a missing hubcap replaced. Next, ran into some door latch and key turning effort issues. They are related, but they are separate issues. However, the repair will result in the same or similar type of scenario where we replace the latch. So we have seen some of our 2020 model year police interceptor utilities experience door latch freezing in cold climates. So we have interim repairs in production and service. So we have interim containment actions in place in both production and service to mitigate this issue. So if a door latch gets replaced due to this issue, it will have had robustness actions baked into it. We've also received feedback that the turning effort, even on a normal, a good operating latch in warm conditions, the turning effort of the key in the door is more than previous model year police interceptors. Okay, so it's a completely different design. And it's all about the leverage, right? So we released a special service message to our dealers to let them know, and that the dealer will replace the door latch and provide new, larger keys that give you more leverage. So if the latches are replaced for either concern, both repairs are taken care of at the same time. Another service message, our oil life monitor. Some customers had run into some struggles with the oil life monitor and reset. That was, again, a production cutoff, January 10th of 2020. It could not have a reset function. An instrument cluster reprogramming will correct that condition. That is something that the dealer can execute for you. And finally, I'll wrap with my contact information. I'm Chris McCall, Fleet Modified Vehicle Manager, area code 313-595-0974 or kmccall1@ford.com. And I'll be here with the team through the rest of the presentation if there's any questions. With that, I think I'm turning it over to Randy, or is it Steve?
No, thank you, Chris. Okay. Okay, my name is Randy Freiberger. I work in special vehicle engineering and also on program managing some of the future F-Series products. Just want to touch a little bit on briefly on upfitting.
Randy, your screen's not showing.
Oh, it's not?
Just do the share screen, the same disconnect I had. Down at the bottom, a little green.
Yeah, I did that when I started. Let me try it again.
Cindy, any thoughts?
I think he's got it now.
Okay. Is
Perfect.
that it?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Randy.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to touch a little bit on upfitting. We'll look a little more at the hybrid because that's new, but we've brought across and through and from the previous police interceptor utility from 19 earlier. So basically here, in between the front two seats under our center console mounting plate, you'll find vehicle speed, door jars, vehicle signals like that. What's new about this is we made them more accessible. In the past, they were tucked up under the IP more towards where the dash text is. So to make them more accessible, we brought them back under between the seats under the center console mounting plate. And then the battery power, our two 80 amp fuse circuits there are still in the same location under the second row seat. But we did try to improve things by relocating the vehicle signals. Here's just a CAD view of where those connectors come out under the center console mounting plate. Just to touch on a couple items that are unique to the hybrid, police interceptor utility hybrid. From a safety standpoint, you really don't need, your upfit should really never tie into the hybrid battery at all. We prefer that you use the 12 volt power point that's under the second row seat. There is a disconnect under hood, more biased to the driver's side, outside the shock tower there. And that's the disconnect there that will disconnect the hybrid battery, the high voltage battery, while you're working on the vehicle. But the battery itself is self-grounded, so it is a pretty safe setup, but just for the belt and suspender and belt, make yourself absolutely safe. You should use that disconnect while under hood. Here's just an overview, a high-level overview of the critical hybrid battery components. So the yellow in the center of the vehicle, towards the top there is the passenger side. Just behind the front passenger seat is where the battery is located in the floor area. and then the associated wiring going up forward under hood in the vehicle. Just to give you an idea of the layout. You'll find this in the modifier guide also. And there'll be other systems highlighted in the guide also, with all the exhaust and fuel lines also, but this is specifically for the hybrid battery. In the roof structure, there are crossbows going across. This is typically where a roof mounted light bar would be. And these dimensions are also in the modifier guide, this specific drawing. So it'll give you an idea of where the roof is most structurally sound to mount a light bar. And then the one thing we did new for 2020 is put the WIG-WAG control in the body control module, and brought back the connector. So all you have to do is that 14-way white connector that's under the center console mounting plate. There's a pin 2 there. If you ground that, it will start the WIG-WAG function. It does need a good solid ground, but we try to make that easier, bringing that connection back out under in between the seats, so it's easier, more accessible during an upfit. We've also added a little more detail on decommissioning. There are certain features in the past that we've added and have been added in the aftermarket. And we've worked with those partners to make sure that those features work for you. But we have had many requests to integrate more of our features. So decommissioning will probably take the, on the 2020 Interceptor, we'll use FDRS to disable before you sell the vehicle, if you're to sell a vehicle at the end of its useful life for police. So if in our modifying guide, we've got a few different sections covering different aspects of decommissioning. So there's sealing. So if you have lights or any holes that were drilled in the sheet metal and passed through, to prevent any retail customer who may have the vehicle afterwards from getting environmental gases into the vehicle under certain conditions. We talk about sealing any holes that are created, or by removing lights or any other features externally. And then some of the things we've now done that have been integrated with the vehicle. So like our police idle function that will allow you to leave the vehicle idling and remove the key and walk away, and provide the security of it'll shut down the engine if somebody gets in the vehicle without the key and tries to take it. But so there are features like that that can be disabled that will need the FDRS to do that. Just touch base here on our bodybuilder advisory service that's always available. If you require CAD or any other questions at all on the vehicle or upfit support, can be submitted through our bodybuilder advisory service, the fordbbass.com site. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Steve Tyler to share a lot of product information with you. Thank you.
Thank
you, Randy. And thank you everyone for joining today. It's really great to be with you, even if only virtually. Miss being with everyone in person, of course, being able to see everyone. And I'd like to just, before I kick off, first of all, I'm Steve Tyler. I'm the police brand marketing manager for Ford. And just, I want to let everyone know we really appreciate everything you do out there, whether you're a sworn officer or you have a support position. We appreciate what you're doing out there to keep our streets safe. And it's been real challenging this year. We know that, especially with COVID. So we thank you for what you're doing. We also thank you for your business. I'd like to do a product presentation. I'll talk mostly about the police interceptor utility today, and then we'll talk a little bit about another vehicle. And then we'll have, it's actually pretty much a packed presentation. So let me go ahead and kick that off. And I'd like to start off by saying that the police interceptor utility is the first ever pursuit rated hybrid vehicle. I think a lot of people are aware of that. Basically it's a great story because we believe the hybrid is actually the ideal powertrain for law enforcement. And here's why. When vehicles are at idle, as all of you know, right? If you're not driving your vehicle, it's usually idling. The engine's always running to power that onboard electrical equipment. What the hybrid allows to happen is that gas engine is going to shut off for extended periods of time while you'll still have full electrical power to run all those accessories. So now the gas engine is coming on and off to keep that battery charged, and it's the battery, the big hybrid battery that's powering that equipment. So what that results in is reduced fuel consumption and fuel expenditures, reduced CO2 emissions, reduced engine use, right, because it's running less, and reduced maintenance. If you're changing oil based on engine hours, you're going to change the oil less because you're just going to have fewer engine hours on that engine. In addition to that, you're going to have fewer brake changes because of what's called regenerative braking. The majority of the time when you hit that brake pedal, you're actually not using the friction material on the brake pads. You're using the electric motor to slow the vehicle down. And what that does is that puts additional electricity back in the battery, helps keep that charged for less fuel consumption, but it also means less wear in your pads. So this is really a great win-win situation. And of course, with that reduced maintenance, reduced trips to the pump, you're going to have increased officer and vehicle uptime, which, you know, what fleet manager would not want that? So taking a deeper look into the police interceptor utility, you know, our DNA remains unchanged. It's pretty much been the same since we came out with the first police package in 1950. Agencies then as now are looking for safety, durability, performance, purpose-built, and upfit friendly. And I'll go through those slides and dive into that a little more deeply. So safety, of course, is first with Ford Motor Company. Your job is hard enough, stressful enough without having to worry about whether or not your vehicle is going to protect you. And the Ford Police Interceptors are the only vehicles in the world that are designed and engineered for the 75-mile-per-hour rear impact crash test. All other vehicles on the road, including other manufacturers' police vehicles, meet that federal standard of 50 miles per hour. But Ford is the only vehicle that goes above and beyond on the police interceptor to protect you in the event of a 75-mile-per-hour rear impact crash test. In addition to that, and by the way, you can see the structure in this image. There's kind of an X brace you'll see, which is in the cargo area, and then there's a kind of a ladder structure that's in front of that goes underneath the rear seat that you can see a portion of. That's 160 pounds of additional metal we add to the vehicle for that protection. And I think you know how much we hate to add weight and cost to a vehicle, but we do it where it's important. And this is a very important reason to do it, is your safety. So that's why we do it. And in addition to that, we have the safety cell construction, which drives the collision force. If there is a collision, it drives the forces around the occupant compartment rather than through the occupant. So that just helps you keep even safer. We also have an optional factory installed police perimeter alert that I'm going to go through in more detail in the next slide. We have rear camera on demand that you push a button and it'll turn on your rear camera, leave it on for as long as you want to leave it on to help you see what's going on behind you. And then we have optional pre-collision assist with pedestrian detection and automatic emergency braking. We have a low MSRP of $145 on that. And what this is for is in the event that someone's coming up to a light and happens to be distracted, right, and may stop 3 or 4 feet too long, whatever the case may be, the vehicle will apply the brakes and keep from going into an impact. It actually will protect from an impact at up to 35 miles per hour. And above that, it'll slow the vehicle down by 35 miles per hour. And the great thing is we want to give you these great features that help you, right, to help keep you safer. But we want to make sure that we're not giving you features that prevent you from doing your job. So in the event you have to do a pit or whatever, rather than have that vehicle fight you, we give you a temporary disable switch right in the center stack that you can just push. It'll temporarily disable the feature. It'll let you do your job. And then at the next key cycle, it'll reactivate. So the optional factory installed police perimeter alert that I mentioned earlier, this is a great system. You're probably familiar with the surveillance mode that Ford helped develop with Intermotive, and we made that available to the other manufacturers. Now that surveillance mode is a great system for its time, and what it did was it took and detected any motion that was behind it, and it went into action. This system is an upgraded version of that. And what it does is it analyzes the motion using an algorithm, and it determines whether or not that motion behind the vehicle is potentially threatening or not. So if you see on the screen here, those blue dots, they represent, let's say it's a jogger running parallel to the rear of your vehicle. You really don't want your system to go off every time there's movement. In this case, the system should recognize that as non-threatening behavior and not go into action. But now if you take a look at those red dots, now that represents someone coming at your vehicle, a potential ambush, right? And in this instance, what's going to happen, the algorithm and the vehicle is going to read that and it's going to say, hey, this is potentially threatening motion. When that happens, it's going to turn on the rear camera, it's going to sound a chime, it's going to roll up the windows, and it's going to lock the doors. And it's going to help secure the vehicle in case someone tries to ambush you. You know, it doesn't replace situational awareness, but it certainly makes it a lot easier, right? If you're distracted or something happens, it's an extra set of eyes that'll help protect you. We also offer mounted in the inside door level 3 and level 4 plus ballistic panels. The level 3 plus panels protect against the NIJ standard level 3 rounds, plus the additional 3 rounds that are specified by LAPD that are on the screen in front of you. And then our level 4 plus ballistic panels protect against the NIJ standard level 4 armor piercing rounds. Plus there's some additional special threat rounds that we added for your additional protection. And these are both factory options, tick the box, and you can have them installed when they arrive. As it relates to durability, of course, every vehicle is enhanced police durability cycle tested. We go above and beyond what a retail vehicle is tested to because these vehicles are just used in a harder capacity when we want them to last longer for you. We of course have improved cooling, police purpose steel wheels, tires, and hubcaps, a police tune regenerative braking system, front door tethers that you can see in the lower picture there. These are great because when you're rolling up to a stop and you're throwing the vehicle in park and you're kicking the door open and the car's still rolling a little bit, right? That's going to put all the weight of the door on the tether rather than on the door hinge. And so your door is going to open and close a lot easier for a lot longer because you're not putting all that stress on that hinge. We also have the additional testing you see on the screen there, 8-inch curb impact validated, median crossing tested, 30-mile-per-hour railroad crossing tested, and reverse J-turn tested. Performance, of course, every police interceptor utility is pursuit rated. All of the powertrains, if you look at the standard hybrid, for example, versus the outgoing 3.7 liter, you have increased horsepower, torque, acceleration, and top speed. And then the new EcoBoost, it's a smaller displacement. It's a 3-liter engine, but it actually has increased horsepower and torque, as well as acceleration and top speed versus the outgoing 3.5-liter EcoBoost as well. Every interceptor utility is water fording tested to 18 inches at 15 miles per hour and 10 inches at 40 miles per hour. We don't recommend that you drive through standing water because it can be hazardous, but in the instance you have to do your duty, we make it so that your vehicle's not going to ingest water at those speeds, right? And then take the vehicle out. Also, you have an increased payload capacity versus previous generation interceptor utility, 1,670 pounds for all powertrains. And of course, we have standard full-time intelligent all-wheel drive on all of our interceptors. And if you take a look at how the vehicle shakes out in testing, in the Michigan State Police testing we had earlier this fall, the 3-liter EcoBoost interceptor utility was actually the fastest of all vehicles tested. This includes V8 powered sedans. I had the fastest 0 to 60 performance, fastest 0 to 100. It says fastest quarter mile. That's actually left over from a different test. Michigan State Police doesn't test for the quarter mile, but we did have the fastest quarter mile in last fall's LA County Sheriff's testing. We also had the fastest single lap time, the fastest average lap time, which talks about the total performance of the vehicle, right? We're not talking about just going fast in a straight line. We're talking about a total vehicle, braking system, suspension, engine power, transmission, the whole ball of wax. This talks about total performance. And then we also had the highest top speed as well. It's not on the slide, but we were tested at 148 miles per hour this fall by Michigan State Police. Every police interceptor utility is purpose-built. We have heavy-duty cloth seats with reduced bolsters and anti-stab plates, vinyl flooring and vinyl rear seat for durability, column-mounted shifter. That frees up space in the center console area, right? We don't have a shifter there taking up space. And this is a true cable-driven column-mounted shifter. It's not an electronically driven shifter. It also doesn't, it's not a push-button shifter. It doesn't stick out of the dashboard. It goes right in the column, as you can see in the lower left there. We have a simple fleet key. We have 4 keys standard with every interceptor. And the reason we have the simple fleet key is simply because of cost. We've heard over and over again, I don't want to have to replace expensive fobs that I have to program. I don't want to have to replace expensive keys that I have to program with the resistors in them and different features. We give you the simple fleet key. You get 4 standard. And of course, you can order key to like too if you want every key to match your fleet. We have rear door closeout panels. So instead of having map pockets or cup holders, right, we have a flat door panel there to help prevent contraband from being stuffed in the doors. We have the red and white LED task lighting in the overhead console in the front seat area. Engine hour and idle hour meters to help you track that performance if you're changing oil and doing maintenance based on the hours. We have certified speedometer, of course, and a digital speed display as well. And of course, every police interceptor utility is upfit friendly. We have the universal top tray you see there in the upper left. That's a reinforced tray where you can mount radar equipment, ticket printers, whatever you want to put there. We have the 9-inch metal console mounting plate standard for mounting equipment to it, channeling wiring. We have an optional rear console plate so you can run those wires through. You see in the lower left there so that they're not easily accessed by anyone in the rear seat area. We have the auxiliary power distribution box and power lug behind the second row seat that you can see in the lower left or lower right image there. And easy access to power and wiring harnesses and signals for upfits, as well as optional factory installed, factory sealed wiring packages. So for example, if you got our ultimate wiring package, we're going to run those wires at the Ford modification center, right? It's going to be done by Ford and it's going to be factory sealed. So it's going to save, you know, people from drilling holes unnecessarily in the vehicle, from channeling those wires themselves. We can actually have the vehicle delivered with the wiring harness in it that you can tap into for easier upfits. And of course, we have a whole range of optional lighting and wiring options for your benefit as well. And then as far as support, you know, we going back to January of last year, almost 2 years ago now, we invited a bunch of equipment manufacturers in and upfitters and even agencies to come in and measure the vehicles so that they could have the equipment out to you on time. You know, our goal is to always try to get at least 6 months ahead of the production schedule to have a measuring session so that that equipment is ready when the vehicles start being delivered. And as Randy mentioned earlier, we have the modifier guide online. You can go to fordpoliceinterceptor.com, just scroll straight down on the main page to the modifier guide section and find it there. You can submit the request for CAD data, which Randy mentioned earlier as well. And we've heard that there's some good amount of transferability from the old previous generation utility to the current generation. Not everything's going to transfer, but there's a decent amount of transferability. Let's talk real quickly about new content. This came out new for 2020 model year, and of course it carries into 2021. Standard content, we have over $2,000 value in new standard equipment for 2020. It's just giving more value for that taxpayer dollar, and it's better equipment, better equipped vehicle to get the job done. For example, we have standard Ford telematics. We have a built-in Ford modem, and you can receive complimentary 2-year subscription to Ford telematics. And we highly recommend you take advantage of that. You do need to sign up for it and subscribe, but it is complimentary at no cost to you. It can help you measure your fuel savings, your CO2 emissions reduction, vehicle health, and much, much more. It's a really great opportunity. We have standard Bluetooth capability. This allows drivers to keep their hands on the wheel and eyes on the road. You can push a button and the voice commands go directly through to your phone. And here's another list. This is just all additional standard content. We have LED low and high beam headlamps now. Previously, it was LED low and halogen high. Now it's high LED across the board. And we have factory integrated WIG-WAG functionality and pre-drilled holes for the user installed warning strobes. That is right from the factory. So you don't have to buy a WIG-WAG module. You don't have to pay extra to get those pre-drilled holes. That's standard now. We have 4 user configurable steering wheel switches, so you can use those to program whatever you want on the vehicle. Class 3 trailer tow hitch is standard with 5,000 pounds towing capacity. And previously, the trailer tow lighting package was optional. We heard feedback from customers that that might have been creating a little confusion. So we just made it standard for 2021, took away the confusion. Now you know that every time you see that hitch, you can hook right up to that lighting package with no issues. Dual zone electronic climate control is standard. So if you're riding 2 seats, you don't have to, people don't have to fight about the temperature in the vehicle. We have tilt and telescoping steering wheel. Now, the great thing about the telescoping steering wheel is this is going to go in and out and help people adjust their positions better. We have automatic on-off headlamps, which revert to the last used position. So on the retail vehicles, if you shut your vehicle off and turn it back on, your headlamps are going to come on because it reverts to auto normally. But we didn't want that to happen. We don't want somebody to be on a stakeout and surprise everyone by kicking that vehicle on and the headlights come on. So we made sure that if you turn the headlamps off before you shut the vehicle off, they're not going to come on when you key that on. They're going to revert to the last known position. And then we added something new, which is really cool, the deep sanded snow traction control with the on-off button in the control panel. So since we have standard full-time all-wheel drive and all of the traction control systems are always on, we got some feedback that we needed some help maybe sometimes getting out of situations with deep snow and sand. And so we have that button that allows you a little more wheel slip to help you escape those conditions. And then this is great. Now we have this, previously we had the 12.1-inch integrated computer screen. This was offered through the aftermarket. We're now offering it factory installed. It's actually at a cheaper price, a much more attractive price than it was just to buy the part previously. And now it's factory installed, so you don't have to install it. So I think this is also a win-win. This really frees up that cabin space, right? It helps keep that center stack area more clear. If you have to evacuate through the passenger side, this is going to make it easier and less cluttered in that passenger compartment for you. And let me go through a fuel saving scenario on the hybrid. So here's our scenario. We went with 20,000 miles per year for this scenario. And we did that because based on feedback from law enforcement agencies that we spoke with, that was about right. That was about average, 20,000 miles driven per year, somewhere more, somewhere less, but we took kind of a middle point there. And so if you look at just the driving portion, right, because basically your vehicles are either driving or they're idling. So we've broken that down separately so we can kind of show you what these fuel savings look like. So if you look at just the driving portion and you look at the label, the previous generation 3.7 liter Interceptor got 17 miles per gallon on the EPA label. The all new Interceptor gets the 24 mpg. So just that difference right there, that 7 mpg improvement, which is a 41% improvement, that saves you about 343 gallons of fuel per year. Now take a look at this. When you look at the idling portion, and so what we did was we took a previous generation Interceptor and a new Interceptor, and we put them side by side. We put a 32 amp load box on them to represent a typical police load of lights and radios and things. We also put the climate control on. We put the vehicle's radio on. We rolled down the windows. We tried to make this, a realistic scenario as much as we could, right, in a test environment. So what we found in the idle measurements, when we measured the fuel consumption of the two vehicles, is that the previous generation Interceptor, the 3.7 liter, used about a half a gallon of fuel per hour in this scenario. And the all new Interceptor with the hybrid, because that engine is shutting off so much, that gas engine is shutting off, it's only coming on to charge the battery, burned about 0.2 of fuel per hour. So that's pretty significant reduction in fuel usage if you look at it that way. And we took a scenario where we only looked at 2 8-hour shifts per day. We know that there's lots of different scenarios out there. You might run 10s, you might run 12s, you might run 1 12 with a take-home car. We just kind of split the difference, and we took 2 8-hour shifts per day only. And we looked at 4.9 hours idling per 8-hour shift, which is what some of our test data showed was a pretty typical idle time period for your vehicles during each shift. Now you multiply that times 365 days a year, and you're gonna, this portion of the savings, right? It was 343 gallons based on the driving portion, almost triples, right, with this fuel savings at idle. So this is where the real key savings are. Not that the other part's insignificant, but this is where a big chunk of the savings are. When you add it together, now you see why the hybrid makes sense. Saving almost 1,300 gallons of fuel per year in this scenario. At $2.75 a gallon, we know fuel is a little bit low right now in some parts of the country, but $2.75 is probably cheap if you're on the West Coast. That results in $3,500 bucks in potential savings per vehicle per year, and that's every vehicle in your fleet, and over 25,000 pounds of CO2 output reduced per vehicle per year. So this is pretty significant. And if you look at the fuel price potentially going up over time, not that long ago, people were paying $4.50 a gallon on the West Coast. That's $5,700 a year in fuel savings in that instance. And if you're holding your vehicle for 6 years at $4.50 a gallon, well, now 34,000 bucks, you're pretty much paying for a new vehicle. I mean, and I think there's some people online that would probably like a vehicle that kind of pays for itself. So we think this is really the way to go. And that's why it's our standard powertrain. It's what Ford recommends. And we know a lot of agencies have been trying it out. Not just New York, Chicago, and LA, right? But all kinds of agencies across the country. And we're so glad to see that. So we hope as agencies try it out, the word of mouth will continue and this will continue to improve because we think it's really right for law enforcement. And now the scenario I showed you may vary from your own use of the vehicles. So please feel free to go to FordPoliceInterceptor.com. You can calculate your own scenario. I've got a dynamic calculator there. If you click that light blue box where it says Ford Police Vehicles, it'll take you to the Interceptor page. You can scroll down to the calculator and you can put in your own input and run your own scenarios. And I hope you all do that and see how much fuel you could save with a hybrid on your next Interceptors. And then I want to talk briefly about a drive event we had last year. And this will also focus on the hybrid. We had an 11-city tour about mid last year. We had about 1,200 attendees come through the cities that you see on the map. And the cool thing is we like to survey people and we ask them what they think of the vehicle before they drive it and then after. And so in this instance, when everyone registered for the ride and drive, we just asked a simple question. What is your opinion of a police interceptor utility hybrid? Something people hadn't driven yet. Just what's your opinion? What do you think of it? We got a 6.4, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10. That was the pre-drive impression. After people drove the vehicles, we got a 9.4. So this is a 47% improvement in opinion after driving the vehicle. So a lot of times when you think of a hybrid, there's some hybrid anxiety out there. And kind of the first thing that comes to mind is I'm thinking of a Prius driving in the left lane at 40 miles per hour or 45 miles per hour, right? That's not what this vehicle is. This hybrid has better horsepower, torque, acceleration, top speed than your previous generation 3.7 liter. And people that drove the vehicles are rating it very high. So I'm going to go to a video and we'll just, it's one thing for me to talk about how great the car is. But what I'd like to do is show you, and I'm going to make sure, okay, it looks like my audio is on. I think we're ready to go. Let's take a look at what some of your peers have to say after they drove the Police Interceptor hybrid.
We're here in Denver today, and we're demonstrating the all-new 2020 Police Interceptor utility. We believe this is the exact perfect powertrain for law enforcement.
I think sometimes when you first mention the word hybrid, people think that they think of plug-in, and they're not understanding that it's more of an assist to the gas motor. And then like in this vehicle, it gives you that extra boost, it gives you that extra power. And once they drive it, once they understand it, I think it makes a big difference.
Wow, it's impressive. This is a great car.
But I was really impressed with the hybrid. Just the handling characteristics, the pickup speed.
You would never known it was a hybrid, unless somebody told you.
Going from the 3.7 to the hybrid, you'll notice a big difference in the acceleration and performance.
I think we're actually gaining because we're gaining power and gaining torque with the electric motor, gaining more horsepower. We're not giving up anything with this Speed.
I think it's a great product. Handling was phenomenal, roomy, comfortable to drive. I think it's going to provide us a lot of additional space.
It's more ergonomic for the officers, so I don't see any trade-offs.
Overall feeling, I'm excited. It's great. It's going to be a great addition, and I think it kind of changes the way policing is today. It's just a step towards the future and still taking care of our environment. Very nice.
You definitely feel the difference.
That was awesome.
All right.
I can't wait to get it on my truck.
It's a great vehicle. We love it. 10. Actually, it's 11 out of 10.
All right, so hopefully you'll get a chance to check out the all-new Police Interceptor utility. Now I'm going to go ahead and change gears real quickly and talk about the F-150 Special Service Vehicle. This is all new for 2021. Let's talk about this real briefly. The cool thing about this is now, in addition to the 3.5 liter EcoBoost and the 5 liter V8 that you previously could get on the Special Service Vehicle, and of course this is the non-pursuit rated version, we also have a 3.5 liter Power Boost hybrid. So if you're out there, needing a vehicle for non-pursuit purposes, you can take advantage of the hybrid powertrain on this, just like you can on the Interceptor. Comes now in the Super Crew configuration only, 4x2 or 4x4. Of course, we have the column shifter, vinyl flooring, the 40 front seats with no center seat section or console, and a vinyl rear seat, as well as a 240 amp alternator. That, of course, is on the gas versions for powering your electrical equipment. And then the hybrid would have the DC-DC converter on it. So take a look. We encourage you to take a look on our website at our lineup of special service vehicles. We've got the all-new 21 model year F-150 SSV. We've got the Expedition SSVs, of course, both in the regular configuration and Max, and then the Transit prisoner transport vehicle. I also like to talk to you about the heated sanitization solution. This is something you've probably heard about. This is a great story. So one of our engineers was having a conversation during the real kind of the peak of the Corona situation back in March, and was talking with agencies about what they were facing, especially New York City, who was really feeling the weight of it back then. And he and the team came up with this great idea. And this is something that doesn't, it doesn't usually happen this fast, right? It takes time to engineer things, but they got to work right on it. It was one of what we call our Apollo projects. You probably heard we were doing, PPE that we're passing out. We're doing ventilators. We're doing all kinds of things while our plants were shut down, right? And trying to get equipment out to help law enforcement and others on the front lines. And so one of those Apollo teams developed this, worked together to develop this heated sanitization solution. They worked on it 7 days a week and came out with it in about 3 months, which is really record time, and it's so cool. So I'm going to show a video here real quick, and I'll come back.
Innovation. It starts when you look at things differently. Like, hey, maybe we can use heat to help neutralize viruses. So you write software that cranks up the inside temperature to 133 degrees, helping reduce concentrations of coronaviruses by over 99% on inside surfaces. Then you think, if we can make this happen, what else can we do? There's no limit to what's possible when you start with a new perspective.
So you probably noticed that was the previous generation Police Interceptor utility. And the reason we did that is because we made this heated sanitization solution available first on the previous generation vehicles. Why did we do that? Why would we make it available on a vehicle that we've already sold rather than a vehicle that's in current production? And the reason why is for your protection. The highest concentration of vehicles that we have available in the market, that are in use, I should say, are the Police Interceptor utility and sedan from 2013 to 2019. So we reduced this software solution retroactively so that it could be available to help protect you from coronavirus. So this supplements any cleaning procedures that you're using that are recommended by the CDC. But the idea is that, you can't get in every place, everywhere when you're trying to wipe down a vehicle. So what happens is is this uses the engine and HVAC control systems to heat the vehicle beyond 133 degrees for at least 15 minutes. And what that does is it reduces concentration of coronavirus by over 99% in that time frame. So this is a great peace of mind, you know, in case you've got someone that you knew you were transporting that may have been positive, or even you don't know if someone was asymptomatic and had the virus. So this is available to you. You can go to your Ford dealer and have this done. There's two methods of activation. So the entire universe from 13 to 19, you can do it with a user tool connected to the OBD2 port. You just plug it in. You put in the sequence there. You start up the procedure. You let the car do its work, and then you come back. In the 16 to 19 police interceptor utility, since there's a large group of those vehicles, you can actually do a unique sequence of vehicle controls. You can start it without a special user tool, which is really cool. That requires having software installed. If you have a Ford FDRS tool, you can use that, or you can go to your local dealer and have them install it. The software is free. The dealer could potentially charge labor to install it, but if you're able to do it yourself, then the software is absolutely free to you. So, and then for the ones where you need the special tool, again, you can use the Ford IDS tool or the Mycanic tool. We, of course, would love to have you buy our IDS tool. We think it's a great asset for your fleet, but we know you don't want to buy that for every vehicle. It's a bit pricey to be able to do that, to buy it for every vehicle you have. So this Mycanic tool gives you a little bit of savings. If you want to snap a shot of that website, I'll leave it up on the screen for a minute. And this would allow you to buy this Mycanic tool, and you can activate this solution with that tool rather than having to buy the IDS tool for every one of your vehicles. So we're real proud to be able to offer this to you. You know, this is something, you know, you're out there in the front lines, and it's something to just help protect you from this invisible enemy that's out there.
Hey, Steve. Well,
Yes.
we are coming up on an hour here, and we want to make sure we get to some questions that folks have.
Okay, sorry, yeah, I'm going a little long. I apologize. I have a lot to talk about. Let me take 2 minutes, and then I'll cut it off, and we'll go to Q&A. Sound good?
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you. All right, so we'll talk about vehicle availability. The police interceptor utility, right now, the order bank is open and pricing is available for the 21 model year vehicle. Job 1 is going on right now. We've already started building those. The F-150 special service vehicle, order bank is also open for that now. Pricing is available right now, and job 1 is coming up shortly. And then the F-150 police responder, we had a little bit delay of job 1 on that just because of our engineering system, the way it worked out. We came to market so quickly with the previous generation vehicle, we got kind of caught up in a in-between situation, if you will. So we're making that available as soon as we can. We're planning on having order bank and pricing open in springtime. And then job 1, it'll still be 21 model year, but we'll have job 1 in fall of next year. So it'll be a short 21 model year, and then we'll go right into 22. So with that, I'm going to go right into Q&A. Thanks for giving me the high sign there, and we'll go ahead and take your questions. Thanks for everyone for your patience. Really appreciate it.
Oh, a great presentation, you guys. We appreciate all the information. It looks like some of the folks in the chat answered each other's questions. So that's always something. Peer-to-peer is always great information. Real world, out on the streets, so to speak. Information is always great. I've got a question here. Seat cloth durability improved for 2020 plus in utility, et cetera. Still a weak spot from the 2019 model.
Okay, so we, the 2020 and beyond Interceptor is all new vehicles, so it does have a different seat structure. It does have the same seat fabric, but it's something that we're going to continuously monitor. We have heard some instances from the field of some wear. It's not something we're necessarily hearing widespread, but we will monitor it. If we see that there is premature wear, we can take action at that time. But keep in mind, it's a different seat structure, it's a different design, so it's going to likely wear differently, even with the same material, than it would with the previous design.
Thank you. Another question that just came in: was there any consideration for siren speaker installation without removing the entire front skin of the vehicle?
Randy, do you want to take that one?
That is a bit of a challenging area for access with the front fascia. It's probably similar, but having a north-south engine does provide a little bit different working area. But one of the keys there is the sound output. We didn't want to minimize that. So there are some trade-offs, but hopefully you'll find it a little better with the north-south engine also.
Awesome. Thanks for that response. Just looks like maybe a small issue and asking for a fix. 2020 models, wheel well moldings. Plastic mounting points may not be sufficient. Any response to that, or should they contact you directly for more information?
Oh, that's Cindy. I can take that one. This is Chris.
Okay.
Yes, that's something that we have seen. It is warrantable. The dealer will be able to take care of that. We did catch that in production. And there was a cutoff. I don't have the date at my fingertips, but we did identify the issue and we took action on it. So thanks for raising that one.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. We do have something from Carlos. As all lighting manufacturers offer integration with the FPIU, can you discuss option 61B? Can you?
So I looked that up. That's what I was doing with my brochure here. 61B is the OBD2 split connector. And Randy, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, the connector we provided, there's two points, connecting points on it, and the reason there's two is we tried to give you enough length to reach forward or rearward depending on your equipment that you want to interface with. So that's why there are two, and the lengths are different, just to try and make it easier to access your equipment from whatever location it's mounted. I don't know if that answers it, or there is growing and increased security on access to our CAN bus. But we did everything we could on that one to provide easy access from a length standpoint to your equipment. I don't know if that answers the question or not, but.
Well, again, we can always encourage direct contact. I see that many of the Ford team have put their direct contact information in the chat. We'd love to have all of you do that. Some of these questions are very specific and it might take a little more time to discuss. We've had our other two OEMs talk about some upcoming demos. Are there demo opportunities coming up for Ford?
Do you mean like drive events or anything like that?
Anything like that.
We don't have anything that we've announced at this point, but I would just ask everyone to stay tuned.
Okay. Well, let us know and we'll help share the word as soon as
Absolutely.
you can. Absolutely.
And of course, anything we might plan to do also is going to depend on where we are with the coronavirus and if we're able to meet in person and things like that. But we're hoping we can do some things next year, and we'll announce them when the appropriate time comes.
Awesome. And you mentioned something earlier that has kind of sparked a question for me. I don't know if it's a question, but hybrid anxiety. But it does sound like this is where we're going. And how are you addressing that is it from a marketing standpoint? Is it better just to get in the car and really touch and feel and drive it? So how are you addressing those concerns from the agencies?
Sure. What we've really tried to do is assure everyone, based on the performance of the vehicle, that you're not giving anything up. Typically when you think of hybrids in the past, you've had to give something up. And, it's like anytime you save fuel, historically, you're giving up performance, right? When you went from a V8 to a V6 to a 4-cylinder, historically you were losing performance, and that, that's changed a lot with modern technology. But the great thing is with this hybrid on the police interceptor utility, is this system, it doesn't give you any compromises at all. You have better horsepower, you have better torque, you have better acceleration, you have better top speed. And previously, a lot of hybrids, like you would remember that there was like a battery bump in the back, right? Because you would take a vehicle that already existed and you would say, well, let's throw a hybrid on it, you know, so now where do we put our battery? And the cool thing about this Interceptor is we engineered the platform around the fact that we knew we were going to do a hybrid. So the battery is located in such a position where it doesn't compromise any of your interior space or any of your cargo space. So this is like everything's plus, plus, plus on this vehicle. And what I would really encourage people to do is, you know, we saw the video earlier of the comments from the people who had driven it in one of our drive events last year. Encourage anyone to be able to try to drive that vehicle whenever you can. Talk to other agencies who you know are using the hybrid, right? Try to get some of their feedback. You know, it's not like the old days anymore is the best thing I could say. Is this is an all new kind of era where you know, you're just not giving anything up. And another thing, you know, one thing is that people don't like is called stop start technology, right? And that auto stop start, that's something that's on like your typical gas engine now. It's available on a lot of retail vehicles. You stop at a light, the engine comes off, and you just feel like, what's going on here? Am I going to have power? Is that engine going to kick on when I take off? You know, you see the electrical dim down in your car. You know, you see if you have the air conditioner on, that'll dim down a little bit, right? Reduce the speed of the fan, and it just kind of gives you that hesitant feeling, right? And when you're talking about this hybrid Interceptor, hybrids are a whole different story. Even though that gas engine is shutting off, you always have full power. And that's the real key thing to remember is your electrical capability doesn't die down at that point. You know, and you have immediate power. When you hit that gas pedal, that electric motor is ready to go and the gas engine just comes in right behind it. So I would say if you're used to that auto stop start technology, this is a whole different ball game. And I think it's something that you can be very comfortable driving, not like, you know, a retail vehicle at all whatsoever that just has a gas engine.
Awesome. Hey, Steve, I just add too that we've had a couple participants comment about the successful numbers they're seeing with fuel economy and performance. So, you know, we've got people that are participating here today and they've seen in real world how the hybrid's working out for them, and it's been a positive. Looks like in these cases, it's very positive.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. And one thing we noticed is if you look at our fuel economy scenario and you take that fuel consumption, which is the total fuel consumption. So I showed you like fuel consumed while driving and fuel consumed while idling. You add that total fuel gallons together, that's your true fuel economy because you have X number of gallons at, you know, while you're driving at whatever miles per gallon that's getting while driving. And then you have X number of gallons at 0 miles per hour, right? And so that's what brings the actual number down is the idle time. And so when you add up the numbers there, which is something like, I think you get 7+ miles per gallon on the previous generation and about 13+ on the new one, you know, that is coinciding with other agencies that have measured it out. You know, Minneapolis PD did a presentation, I believe it was at NAFA, and they were getting almost identical numbers to our scenario, which was really cool.
Awesome.
And that's like, sorry to cut you off, Cindy. I was just going to say, if you look at the total fuel used, and then you look at that consumption in that manner, it's something like an 83% improvement in fuel economy. So it really is tremendous.
It's wonderful. That's great. Well, I think we've probably hit a little bit beyond our time, and I want to thank Ford and the entire team for putting this together. A ton of great information to disseminate. Let our attendees know that we are recording, and the presentation that Ford offered will be available in case you missed a few segments of it. So be assured that we will get that out to you. And again, I want to thank the entire team of Ford. I want to thank everyone, all of our vendors for today, for being with us in this new, you know, the pivot in 2020. And just really quickly, I know that we're going to want to let all of our folks go, but I do want to share the, we do want to see you obviously in 2021 as a live face-to-face vendor and a participant down at CWFleet in Ontario, October 27th and 28th. We look forward to seeing all of our members, all of our great vendor partners, raising a glass, shaking hands, and having a great time again, all in the same building. So thank you all for your participation. Thanks for all of your time today and for sticking with us for a full day of great CW Fleet demos. So thank you all. If we can do anything, just reach out to the CPOA team and we'll get back to you with any questions that you have for us or get them over to Ford as soon as possible. So again, thanks everyone. Thanks Steve, Randy, Chris.
Thanks.